having me. Gabriel, awesome job. Amazing. So I'm a school resource officer here in Weston. I work at 2 of our elementary schools. My job consists of going into the classrooms and interacting with the kids. Part of my job is to teach them safety. Part of that safety is anti-bullying. This month obviously is October, so it's anti-bullying month. During the school year, I teach different grade levels, different programs. So for 5th grade students, we teach them something called STAR, Students Taking Action and Responsibility. Part of that program, the second lesson is anti-bullying. So it teaches them the different forms of bullying, verbal, physical, and psychological. We teach them where bullying could occur, what to do if they see bullying. We teach them the triangle: victim, bystander, bully. Most of the time when I'm teaching my 5th graders, the most common question that I get from them is, well, what if the bully starts bullying me? That's their biggest concern. So I tell them, and I give them the example, and I say, well, if she's bullying him, and you go and tell the teacher, and the teacher comes over and tells her, hey, you need to leave him alone and knock it off. And then the next day, they say, well, I told him that nothing happens. Okay, well then you need to tell again. And the next day, if you come back and you tell the teacher, hey, she's still bullying him, she's still making fun of him. And the teacher comes back the second time and says, hey, you need to stop, leave him alone. If I have to tell you again, there's going to be consequences. Well, after the 3rd, 4th, even 5th time, depending on the teacher, depending on the situation, what's the teacher's reaction going to be when she has to tell that person a 3rd, 4th, or 5th time? And all the kids, mad, right? That's the first thing. He's going to be mad. Right, the teacher's going to be upset that she or he has to tell the same person over and over again. So that person's going to get eventually sent to the principal's office, okay? And then if he keeps doing it after being sent to the principal's office, will eventually get suspended. It's going to escalate. They're going to get more consequences. But if you didn't say anything that first time, or the second time, or the 3rd time, what's going to happen? Nothing. They're still going to be bullied. And I guarantee you that if that person gets away with bullying him, they're going to start bullying you eventually too. Because they know you're going to stand there and you're not going to do a word. You're not going to say a word, you're not going to do anything. So do you think that they're not going to stop and turn around and do the same thing to you? Right? So the kids say, yeah, okay, you're right. So part of that program that we teach them is that anti-bullying. We teach them what forms of bullying. Sometimes they don't understand. Like one of the classroom rules, for example, is we say respect. So if your classmates are speaking, we don't speak. And if they say something that doesn't agree with what you're thinking, we're not going to laugh, we're not going to make fun of them, we're just going to guide them to the right answer. And one of that part, after the next lesson, when we get to the second lesson of bullying, and I said the reason why that rule that we have is because if somebody raises their hand and they answer the question that they think is right, and they say, and somebody laughs at them, do you think that they're going to answer the question again next time? Do you think they're going to participate next time when they think that the class is going to laugh at them? No. So now, that person that just stopped participating because they're afraid they're going to get made fun of, do you think that their grades are going to be as good as they were if they weren't participating when they were? No. So their grades are going to go down, and then they're going to get upset that their grades are going to go down. All because of you guys laughed at one answer, right? So even though you might not think that that's bullying, you're still having a psychological effect on them. And that's part of bullying, is psychologically bullying someone. So even though you don't do it intentionally, thinking, oh, well, I'm laughing at them to be mean, that it wasn't the answer that you thought that they were going to say, you still need to be cognizant of what you're saying to people and how you would feel. So we teach them empathy to say, hey, if that was you, would you want to be laughed at for an answer that you thought was correct? No. So that's part of the lessons that we teach. Another lesson in that program called STAR is character traits. So we teach them respect, honesty, self-control. So if somebody is to say something to them, to have the self-control to walk away. Don't say something back, don't escalate the situation, walk away, and if you have an issue with that child, then you need to go back later on and say something, hey, I didn't appreciate that, I think you should apologize, like that was really out of line. Or go tell a teacher, walk away. Because I give an example, I said self-control. When you're at home, who has brothers or sisters at home, right? This is 5th graders that we're talking about, who has brothers and sisters at home? How many of you have wanted to smack your brother or sister for annoying you? And everybody, all the kids raise their hand, right? And I say, but if your sister or brother comes up to you and they say something mean to you, and you say something back to them, does that help or does it hurt? And it hurts, right? So the same thing in school. If somebody says something mean to you, and you reply back to them, it's just gonna make it worse. You need to walk away, have some self-control, go tell a teacher. In the younger grades, we teach them something called the trusted triangle. So something that they can tell, somebody that they trust, that will help them no matter what. So we say, hey, if you can't tell a teacher right then and there, go tell somebody, right? You have a guidance counselor, you have me at your school, you have your teachers, your coach, okay? So there's plenty of people that you told. So I tell my kids, I never want to hear the excuse, I didn't know who to tell. Because we go through who you can trust and who you can tell. And then we say where it can happen. If it happens on the bus, in the cafeteria, at lunch, it can happen in the classroom when the teacher turns her back. So after we teach them that, we go over some of the questions, some of the other concerns that the kids have. Is if they are being bullied and they tell somebody, and the bully is somebody who's good too, and they don't believe them that they're being bullied. That's another issue that we have. Well, they're a good kid, they're a straight A kid too, and so am I, and they're making fun of me, but they don't believe what I'm telling them. Well, my response to them is, tell someone until they listen. Keep telling them until they listen. And that's part of our trusted triangle that we talk about, is you need to keep telling until the situation changes. Don't stop until the bully stops is my motto, right? So don't stop until the bully stops. Don't stop telling someone until the problem is resolved. If you stop, it's gonna keep going on. So that's my 5th grade, that's what we teach my 5th graders. 4th grade, we teach them Dance Smarts, which is part of cyberbullying. So we introduce internet safety to them, what they should post online, what they shouldn't post online, what kind of information, personal information. They shouldn't share their names or addresses, things like that. And then we go into the cyberbullying of what is acceptable to post. You shouldn't post mean comments about other kids. You shouldn't post bad pictures about people. We explain to them that what they post on the internet is there forever. And that once you post something, you cannot take it back. Just like a text message. You send a picture to somebody, and that picture gets sent. As soon as that picture gets sent, you can never get it back. You can apologize, you can say I'm sorry, but that picture is out there for people to use, for people to get. So they don't understand the severity of when they post something at that age. So we try to emphasize that, to say, hey, this is important. Be cognizant of what you post online, because if you don't, it can come back. And then I just implemented a program for our 3rd graders. And what I do, this is just me, so this isn't any of the other SROs, this is just something that I do in my schools. In October, I do it with my 3rd grade. I use Spookly the Square Pumpkin. Has anybody read that book or seen that movie? Okay, so it's about a square pumpkin, and the square pumpkin is made fun of by the round pumpkins because he's different, he's not the same, and they make fun of him. He can't play with them because he can't roll around like they do. And then one night, just before Halloween, it's good that's in October because it's a perfect story in October. Okay, so the day before Halloween, this big storm rolls in and it blows all the pumpkins around, except for Spookly, because Spookly's square, so he can't roll. Well, there comes a hole in the fence, and the storm is blowing the round pumpkins through the hole and into the bay. Well, Spookly tries super hard and he tumbles himself and goes and puts himself in the fence hole and blocks it, and saves all the rest of the pumpkins. Well, when the farmer comes up the next morning, he picks up all his pumpkins and sees that a square pumpkin was the one who saved the day. So when he sowed his seeds for the next year, he sowed all the square pumpkin seeds. So the next year, he had more square pumpkins in different colors and shapes and sizes, and realized that square pumpkins were better than the round that he had. It's a good story, right? So with that activity, so I read the book to my 3rd graders, and then afterwards I give them construction paper that I cut out in square pumpkins, and each kid gets a square pumpkin and they put their name on the square pumpkin. And then we do table by table, and each child, everybody gets each one of their classmates' pumpkins, and they write something positive about their classmate. So they write that they're creative or funny or smart or good at soccer or, whatever, and they write it on the pumpkins, and then everybody gets their pumpkin back, and they read all the nice things that their classmates have written about them. And then, so I explained to them that, hey, these are what your classmates think about you. Okay, this is you. This is who you are. You are funny, you are smart, you are creative, this is you, this is what your classmates think. If for some reason you're having a bad day, or somebody says something mean about you, or somebody makes you feel bad about yourself, I want you to take out this pumpkin, and I want you to read it, and remember, this is who you really are. And the kids love it. They love it. They're like this, oh, my pumpkin, right? So they love it, right? So they get to keep that pumpkin, and it's there to remind them to say, and they're like, oh, who said I was creative? And who said I was, and then now they're all talking because they all want to know, who said what. I'm like, it's anonymous. Everybody writes what they think without having to put their names on it. So it's just an activity, it's a confidence builder, for my third graders to say that, you really are special. This is what's unique about you. This is what people love about you. So, between third, fourth, and fifth, these are the lessons that we try to teach them in order to build that foundation for that when they do go to middle school and high school, that they already have that foundation to say, I'm not going to be a bully, I don't want to be a bully, I want to empathize with people who are being bullied, and to try to help them into, when they get into those situations of peer pressure in the middle schools, because it is tougher when they get into middle and high school. There's more kids, that they don't know, that they haven't grown up with. So, I'm hoping that we're doing what we need to do for the younger kids to get them on that level that they need for the middle school. It is work, and I know that, some of us, I have 2 elementary schools, so it's hard, juggling 2 schools to be able to teach, I have 1,400 kids at one school, 1,300 kids at the other, so that's, 10 fifth grade classes here, 10 fifth, so, getting into classes and teaching in my classes is difficult with that many kids. I do it because I love what I do, but not all schools have that ability to have their SROs in the class, every day. So, but it is something that I think is crucial for that age, and to build, that foundation. I think that foundation is what is important, because those kids can come back and say, I think if you go back and remember in elementary school, I know that I remember every single teacher that I had in elementary school. Every single one. Middle, high school, but I remember every single elementary school teacher that I had. Because I think elementary is where your base is. It's what you remember. It's where you learn to learn, and that's where you want it to go. So I think elementary school, that's why I love working in the elementary school, because I think that that's where we build from and that's where we grow from. So, so that's what we teach. That's what I teach. Do you guys have any questions as far as what we do in the school? Good? Yes?
Do you then continue that into middle and high school, or is it just in elementary schools?
Middle school has a program called GREAT, which it also incorporates it in there as well. There's other, in the STAR program we teach the bullying, character traits, gang awareness, drug awareness, crimes in school, so it's a 10-lesson plan. The GREAT program continues into middle school, where it also teaches about bullying. I think one of the lessons for bullying on the GREAT program is, one of the examples they give is, there's 4 kids sitting on the bus, and one kid comes in, say Jake comes in to sit, and goes to sit next to John, and John says, this seat's taken, Sally's sitting here. Right, Sally? Sally comes over, sits down. So Jake goes to sit next to John, and says, can I sit here? And John says, no, Greg is sitting here. And it's a bullying scenario. So we tell so for the response to this, we tell the kids, as a bystander, if you see that happening, what can you do? Come sit next to me. Right. So even though you don't want to get involved in that and say something to the bully directly, you can solve the problem by saying, hey, come sit next to me. So that program that we have called GREAT is part of that. Bullying is part of that program.
And I know that you said that you had some books maybe you could show. Did you bring one of those?
I brought the STAR booklet just to show what we teach, but the other workbooks that I have it's for stranger stuff. It's not for.
Because I think it's nice to show
And
parents. Who came up with that program?
The STAR program is the Sheriff's Office program. It's a Sheriff's Office only program, I guess you could say, it was started by the Sheriff's Office.
Because I know years ago they used to have a lot of different programs. So when was this implemented? This is new?
No, this we've had for years.
Because you never hear about that. Why? It's a great program.
It is.
It should be in every school, you don't hear about
For the most part, it should be for the schools that the Sheriff's Office is in the districts. It should be in those elementary schools, but as far as the city goes, I think they do DARE instead of this. I think DARE is the alternative to this. So like I said, we teach, basically it's just, Let's Stop Bullying is the second lesson as we go right into it. And like I said, we teach the character traits. So their homework that I give them for the bullying section is after we talk about bullying, I'll take somebody from the class, so I'll just be talking like this, teaching the class, and I'll say, I love your shirt, it's super pretty. And whoever I say to will smile, and I'll say to the rest of the class, how much time did you just take me to say this to her? 3 seconds? 3 seconds, right? 3 seconds to say something nice, right? That's it, 3 seconds out of my day. So I go, so your homework tonight, and this is for my 5th graders, I say, is to find someone in the school that you do not know, that you do not talk to, you have no idea what their name is, and that cannot be in the same grade level as you. You have to go up to them and say something nice. And they're like, I go, now, mind you, you're gonna get some reactions. Some people are gonna say, why are you coming up and talking to me, right? Some people are gonna say, thank you. Some people are gonna just walk away because they're not used to being complimented. They have no idea how to take a compliment. Okay, I go, so whatever the reaction, that's your homework, do it, and then write down what you said and what the reaction was. So the kids will come back the next week. One girl came in and said, I told a girl that I loved her hair, and she said I was the first one to notice. So she was like super excited because I was like, see, I go, you were the first one to notice. I go, her family, her friends didn't even notice that she had a new haircut, and you were the first one to notice. Do you think you just made her day? Absolutely. So some people, said, oh, I got complimented back. Well, that's great. Doesn't that make you feel better that somebody said something nice to you? And then I tell them, hey, what you guys just did was called an icebreaker. You guys are gonna need that next year when you guys go to middle school to make new friends. So to make new friends next year, you're gonna go up to somebody and say something nice to them. Guess what? You just started a conversation. You're gonna make some new friends next year. Because that's how you do it. So, and then the kindness goes into our next chapter, which is character traits. So we said, you guys have kindness down pat. You guys did your homework. You guys are good. You guys are on top of it, right? So these are the kind of things that we incorporate for the kids, so that we teach them the character traits that they need to be responsible, respectful middle schoolers. Is where we're going with it. So that's it. Any other questions? Any other questions? Anything else?
I was curious, at what level do you bring in the parents or the administration when bullying escalates? Like, I really like the way you said you have to keep telling until something is done about it. And that's really hard to do because you just want it to go away.
Right.
So sometimes I think that takes a lot of courage and a lot of strength to keep telling until something is done about it. But at what point do you bring in parents or administration to?
Usually, if somebody says something if somebody comes to me, I'll bring in the guidance counselor first, so that the guidance counselor can bring in both parties and talk to both parties to see if there's an underlying issue, between them. Sometimes there's a tit-for-tat kind of thing that they're going back and forth. Sometimes it is an ongoing thing that they didn't know about. So the guidance counselor is the first person that we bring in to speak with them. Unless it's something that's a repeated, ongoing thing, that's when we start bringing in the parents. Is okay, this is an ongoing issue, and we tried to resolve it through guidance, through the programs that we have at school. It's not working. We need parents to come in to help. So the first step is guidance, and then usually they'll bring in the parents.
Because, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of times bullying occurs, because there are issues that they're dealing with themselves, either at home or just something, so they need help, because even though they're the one that's bullying someone, a lot of times they're the ones that need help, because they're only doing that because they have issues, right? So,
Which is why it's so important for us to bring in the guidance counselor.
Right.
Because if there is underlying issues, like I mentioned, that it is important for the guidance counselor to talk, you know, to the students to see, hey, is this something that's going on at home that I need to know about? Is this something that's, you know, sometimes we have kids that come in that they're upset because they couldn't do their homework because their power was off for 3 days, right? So there's underlying issues that they might be bringing their frustration to school that the guidance counselor can help and deal with on a different level and do it that way. So yeah, sometimes, you know, kids give their frustrations at school and take it out on other kids, that it's something that happens at home.
do they have like, social therapy at schools that would help children?
If
Like to role play how to appropriately interact and treat people?
the great program that I mentioned, they do a lot of role play with that program. There's each lesson of a role play exercise. We do occasional role play with us, depending on the amount of students that we have with this program. But as far as behavior-wise, like the school goes, the only time I think that they do, and don't quote me because I'm not a school employee, I'm a BSO, but I just know, you know, what they do. But if a child has behavior issues, then they're usually on some kind of plan that they're being monitored to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. But as far as us, we don't deal with the behavior in that regard.
Thank you. I think those are terrific programs, and I 100% agree with you that it has to be a foundation in elementary schools from the beginning, so they're taught how to treat people, how to respect people, and how to get along, and then from there it grows. Because if you're not taught from the beginning, then it just magnifies, you know, and doesn't improve.
Right. Did you have a question back there? I thought I saw.
Just, there was almost similar to her question about what if they have parents that are bullier type people? Or what if you have a teacher that's similar to that?
Well, and that's common for kids that have that kind of parental supervision at home, is that the parents are bullies, so they mimic the behavior. So that's something that we can, if we see that and we know that that's an issue, then the guidance counselor can call in extra services. The schools do have social workers at the schools, so the schools can call a social worker for the social worker to make it a family thing instead of just a child thing. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you for having me.